Okay, good morning. Today we're going to be discussing the introduction or the biography of one of the most important poets in the United States, and her name is Emily Dickinson. Okay, there's two big things about Emily Dickinson. She was great both as a poet and as a person.
She was great as a poet.
She was great both as a poet and as a person. Okay? These two things are very important. In 1830, she was born. In 1886, she died. She died at the age of 56. We're going to divide the life of Dickinson in two parts. Before the age of 30 and after the age of 30. Before the age of 30, 56. 1830 she was born. 1886 she died at the age of 56. We're going to divide the life of Dickinson in two parts. Part number one, before the age of 30. Before the age of 30. And part number two, after the age of 30. Okay? Before the age of 30, Emily Dickinson is a very social woman. Very social. She had a normal life. Okay?
A social what? Very social.
Very social life. Before the age of 30. Now, all the things that I'm going to be saying are going to be after the age of 30. Okay? After the age of 30, she's going to become reclusive. 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 After the age of 30. After the age of 30, she became reclusive. That's when you want to be solitary, when you don't want to be with people. You want to be alone. And this is why a lot of the poetry of Dickinson will be portrayed in her life. Her life is going to be portrayed in her writing. You're going to see it as you read. You're going to see a bunch of things that happen to Dickinson. Okay, so she's going to be a person that likes to be isolated, wants to be solitary, that is to be reclusive. Yeah.
The reclusive is solitary. This is because
She wanted to be alone. Okay. A lot of the people, for example, if they threw a party in the house of Dickinson, she was seen momentarily and then she disappeared. It's like, for example, your brothers or your sisters, they spend the whole day in their room. And if they do a party or something, they're in their room. You barely see some of your relatives or some of your cousins, whatever. That's an example of being reclusive, okay? Now, a lot of the people said that Emily Dickinson was agoraphobic. Agoraphobic. Just in case.
At what age?
Agoraphobic. That's all after the age of 30.
What does that mean?
Agoraphobic is a person that has a certain phobia. Yeah.
before or after?
After. When you're agoraphobic is when you have a certain phobia of being with people or seeing people. Okay? So she doesn't like getting with people, like we're together. Okay? She doesn't like going into public. That's agoraphobic. A phobia of going into public. That's why you stay reclusive, locked in, either in a room or in this case, her father at some point built a garden for Emily, and that's where she spent a lot of her days in the garden writing. Okay. When she died in 1886, her sister Lavinia, she's gonna go and she's gonna find the works of Emily Dickinson. She's the one responsible for finding the works of Emily Dickinson.
Who?
Her sister,
She was responsible.
Lavinia. She's the one that when Emily died, she's the one that found the writings.
Her writings.
In a lot,
¿Tú sabes la Biblia o...?
Emily. For example, Emily is going to have, like for example, little papers like this, and in this little paper she's going to write a poem. So when she died, they were going to find a bunch of papers like this with poems from Dickinson, okay? When she died, she left instructions that all of those works will be destroyed. However, her family, as they saw and they read the poems, they thought that they were very important and they were going to be something important in the future. So they decided to keep the poems and not throw them away. So they kept the poems. It was not until 1955 that a guy named Thomas H. Johnson published nearly over 1,000 of Dickinson's works.
Thomas
H. Johnson. H. Thomas H. Johnson.
Can you write the name?
Yeah. Johnson.
Bueno,
1955. Okay. The little bundles of paper where the poems are going to be put together are going to be called facils. Facils. Facils.
How many the
Poems nearly over 1,000.
Thomas published
The poems of Dickinson
In 1955?
in 1955. Also, Dickinson nowadays is considered one of the top 5 poets in the United States
En ese momento.
right now. Right now, she's one of the most important poets in the United States.
she's the vibe.
She's one of the top 5 poets in the United States.
Ed Johnson or
Emily. Johnson is the guy responsible for publishing the works, the poems of Dickinson. Dickinson is also going to be known as an enigma. An enigma. And an enigma is not other than a puzzle. Something that people don't understand.
So poems son enigmas.
She's a puzzle. She, like Dickinson, is an enigma. A lot of you are going to read the poetry of Dickinson, and once you see the poem, you're going to say, this is a piece of cake for the test. Because the poem is less than 10 lines, the majority of them. And the ones that we're going to read here are very short. So you're gonna say right here we're gonna read around 10 poems, and they're very short. And then you're probably gonna say that's a piece of cake for the test, but all of the things that are behind those poems is very fascinating. Okay, so those 10 poems are gonna be available on Weebly. Okay, so you download them and you bring them, and so we can start working on that. We're gonna start working today, but on Wednesday, so I can start working with the signatures of those words.
So some of the only ones are
From Dickinson, yeah, the ones are gonna be in Weebly.
I got them.
Solamente son 10.
That's it. Those 10. 10.
There's more about other authors.
No, everything is from Dickinson. Everything is from Dickinson. However, it is very important that you understand the style and everything. Okay, very important, because for example, if I give you a poem on the test from Dickinson and I ask questions about the poem, you need to understand how to work with the poems of Dickinson. Okay. Yeah.
How many poems?
10.
We have to look for it.
No, I'm gonna post them up.
Alright.
I'm gonna give you the names of the ones that we're gonna be working. Don't worry. Okay. Final test. Very important. Emily Dickinson, the poems of Dickinson's, there's two things that you can see about the poems. Number one, the form of the poem, and number two, the content of the poem. Number one, the form, and number two, the content. Number one, the poems are very short. That's in form. If you want to write number one, form, and then at the bottom you can write all the things that I'm going to tell you. The poems are all short. Emily Dickinson will never title the poems. The poems do not have a title. And you're probably saying, then how do we know which one is which? Because when Thomas Johnson published this series of poems, he is going to use the first line of every single poem. For example, the poem that says, success is counted sweetest by those who nourish the seed. To comprehend the nectar requires sorest need. The title of that poem will be Success is counted sweetest. First line. There's another one that the first line is, this is my letter to the world. That's the title. And on and on. The title will be that first line of that poem. These poems are all gonna have paradoxes. Paradox. Paradox. And that's a word very important that will be in your vocabulary words. Paradox. And that's a statement that seems contradictory. Paradox. A statement that seems contradictory but actually presents a truth. A statement that seems contradictory but actually presents the truth. That's a paradox. A statement that seems contradictory. A statement that seems contradictory but actually presents the truth.
Contradictory.
You're going to see a lot of dashes in the poems. The dash. You're going to see a lot of dashes in the poems of Dickinson. Of the what? Of the paradox. A statement that seemed not real but actually presents the truth. A statement that seems contradictory but actually presents the truth. You say like, this doesn't make sense, but at the end, it tells you the truth. She's going to use two types of rhyme. Exact rhyme, exact line, and exact rhyme is precise. Exact rhyme is something that does rhyme.
Say it again.
Exact rhyme is when that line in the poem rhymes. And the other type of rhyme is slant rhyme. Slant. S-L-A-N-T. Slant rhyme. And that's when the final words of that line, they look similar, but they're not. So the exact rhyme, it is exact, it does rhyme, and the slant, it looks like it rhymes, but it doesn't. Now we're going to go to the content of the poem. Remember, we had the form and now the content. This poem is going to tell, the poems of Dickinson are going to tell the feelings of Dickinson. The poems are going to portray the life of Dickinson, the life of a reclusive person, the life of an isolated person. The life of Dickinson. The what?
Before you say
The
that.
feelings.
Ah,
The feelings in the life of Dickinson. It's gonna express the feelings and the life of Dickinson. Okay. So basically that's it with the introduction of Emily Dickinson.